Welcome to our Board of Education meeting. It's June 13th, 2022. Please stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The mission of the White Plains City School District is to educate and inspire all students while nurturing their dreams so they learn continually, think critically, and pursue their aspirations and contribute to a diverse and dynamic world.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to ask you to join us in a moment of silent reflection in the memory of Marilyn Gomez, librarian at Ridgeway School from 1992 to 2010. Thank you. Yep. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Pepper up as we excitedly recognize our retirees and 25-year staff.
Thank you, Dr. Ricca, and good evening, everybody. There's an awful lot of talent out here, Dr. Ricca. You sure we want to do this?
I don't want to do it at all, but
I don't think
we have to.
Well, good evening, everyone. So, tonight we want to express our gratitude and appreciation to all of our retiring educators who spent most of their lives in public service to the students in the greater White Plains community. As stated in our mission statement, they have educated and inspired students, nurtured their dreams, taught them to think continually, think critically, pursue their aspirations so they could contribute to a diverse and dynamic world. Our retirees' body of work has included interacting with and educating tens of thousands of students. When you look at their career, when you think about all the students, the lives they've touched of all the students. They've instructed in the classroom, they've served as club advisors, many of them have been coaches in our school district, they've counseled students, they've chaperoned trips locally and abroad, and they simply have been there for the students as they were needed. They've also mentored our new teachers. Many of them use their expertise to assist new teachers who have joined our ranks. They've presented at conferences, they've chaired committees, they've written grants, provided professional development, they've written curriculum, served on task forces, initiated community service projects, and served as club advisors. Some of them have been community liaisons and have led numerous extracurricular activities. So you can see it's been a tremendous body of work that all of you have contributed to, and we're grateful for that. So on behalf of the Board of Ed, the Superintendent, your colleagues, and students, parents, and the greater community, we salute you, we thank you for making a positive difference in the schools, and we want you to know that you have left a legacy of excellence in our schools. So let me, as the saying goes, be the first to say, goodbye tension, hello pension. So at this point, we have a wonderful slideshow that's been put together by Tara Daly over at Highlands Middle School in honor of our retirees.
Clap along if you feel like a room. like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high, to bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come on. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what.
So it looks to me like Mary O'Connor already started her retirement. I don't know. She's in the pool there, I think. And I think we're all going to really miss Poppy. And that's unfortunate. Poppy's leaving us. Anyway, at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ricka and President Eller for some special presentations for our retirees.
Good evening, everybody. Mrs. Schoenfeld's going to read the names of our honorees this evening. But before we do that, I have to echo Mr. Pepper and just say thank you. Thank you and congratulations. You know, Mrs. Daly does such a great job with that slideshow, and when you look at all of the effort and all of the time and attention that you have poured into our children over the years, it's invaluable. And you just need to know that, and I know you know this, but you need to know that you have truly touched the lives of so many kids and made so many kids' lives better. You know, on their worst day, so many of you were there to pick them up and move them along for years and years and years. So thank you for all that. And now we're going to read off all of your names, and we have a certificate for everybody. Sorry, I can't load it.
It's getting taller. Seems to be taller.
That's okay, Michelle, you and I are the same height.
Okay. Susan Adams could not be here tonight. Evelyn Alicia Santiago.
Felicidades.
Rosanna Aris Ron. Susan Bannister. Mary Byrne. William Braswell. Karen Cabral. Christine Chofalo. Marianne Cohn. Teresa Cristiano. Wendy Dale. Karen Day. Joan DeSanto. Linda Farrington. Malula Gonzalez. Robert Hutter. Jane Alcabellas. Michelle Johnson Hall. Jody Kennedy. William Krebs. Karen Levant. Susan Levin. Catherine Mahoney. Spencer Mayfield. Mariana McCormick. Deborah Monaco. Marilyn Moreno. Abbas Nuridin. Mary O'Connor. Ted O'Donnell. Lisa Pinero. Stephen Pearl. Eileen Perry. Christina Pollard. Faith Ponterado. Julia Prober. Betty Quiroz. Gail Sansone. Sonia Smith. Ernie Spatafor. Joseph Cavallero. Angela Stenson. Daniel Steele. Veronica Telesco. Deborah Williamson. Lourdes Yanuzzi. Aura Zelaya. And Michelle Schoenfeld.
this evening, we have a special presentation. The Board of Education has a special presentation for Mrs. Schoenfeld. Some of you may know that upon notification of her retirement, the Board of Education determined that they were going to name the assembly room at Ed House after Michelle, appropriately because Michelle has spent a great deal of time in that room. So we finally have our beautiful plaque, the Michelle Schoenfeld Meeting Room, in tribute to Michelle Schoenfeld, District Clerk, 1982 to 2021, in recognition of Michelle Schoenfeld's 39 years, really it's 40 because she's been here all year. I'll write it in. Loyal service and outstanding contributions to the White Plains City School District. Congratulations.
Thank you all very, very much. It's been a long ride, and it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate all these honors. Thank you.
I wanted to have a huge photo of Michelle go with the plaque, but she nixed that.
Yeah.
Now we're going to recognize our 25 years of service.
Shelley Adelman. Vito Sirocco, Emily Conrad, Teresa Cristiano, Joan DeSanto, Michelle Goodman, James Johnson Jr., William Krebs, Liza Lanos, Jacqueline Miller, Sung Ho Pak, Christine Pasquale Hertel, Brian Reed, Rhonda Saylor, Lucia Scala, Glenn Setterstrom, Maureen Sharkey. Oh, was that Maureen Sharkey? That's Maureen Sharkey. Maribeth Stefano. Monica Sultan Mizell, and Anna Turturro Burns. That's it.
Congratulations, everybody.
May I say that I started adding up all the numbers and then I sort of lost track. But I think among the retirees and those observing 25 years anniversaries, we're well over 1,000 years of dedicated service to the White Plains schools. You're all way too young to either be retiring or to have had 25 years of service. And I also wanted to add, not only did you all or have you all been touching the lives of our students, you've also touched the lives of our parents, and we are very, very appreciative. Thank you.
Just to add, as a district, we are incredibly lucky. You guys are wonderful people. You're extraordinary educators. But part of that comes from what truly wonderful, caring people you are. And that comes out, and that teaches our children how important it is to be caring and what is so valuable. So thank you so much, because you've enriched all of us as well as all of our students.
So if I can just, I guess, sum up everything that everyone said, for the 25 years, we expect at least 25 more. And also for our retirees, you have a great story to tell. And if you wonder, who will tell your story, it'll be these students and the ways that you've touched their lives. So know that out there, that there's someone that'll tell the story about their favorite teacher, their favorite teaching assistant, their favorite person that worked with them. So on behalf of all of us here, thank you all so much. Okay. So next, we're going to a couple of public hearings. The first being the public hearing on the Code of Conduct. And if you've taken a look at it, any questions or comments? And Deb, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm happy to, and I want to thank Ms. Algarton as well as the committee that comes together annually to review our Code of Conduct. This is an iterative process. The Code of Conduct constantly changes as the times change, and this year's revisions were few, but we think they're impactful. We continue to seek to bring an approach that is, with regard to student discipline, that is not only rigorous in terms of our expectations, but also instructive in terms of our ability to correct and come back from a misstep. That's really important to us. The committee is comprised of a cross-section of all stakeholders. So you have parents, guardians, students, faculty members, staff members, administrators, all coming together to do this review. Again, thank you very much, Deb.
Any questions? Okay, if not, our second public hearing is on the district-wide safety and emergency management plan. Did you want to comment there?
Yes, and by the way, for folks who need to leave, it's totally okay. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Don't feel like. And thank you again. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So now's your chance, because if we start talking again, you're still here. You have to stay. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, what about the $100 we were giving out to no.
Yes? Okay.
Congratulations, guys.
Right.
Well, there are a lot more
Quiz
seats.
tomorrow for those who
I was going to say, like, we're giving out free homework passes at the end of the meeting.
Or those gift cards.
Gift cards.
They're handing out gift cards. No.
You got a lot of masks left.
I never want to use them. District Safety and Emergency Management Plan, again, annual review. Thanks very much, Dr. Ficaro-Teisch and the team, also board representation as part of that as well. Very, very important component in our overall district operations, permeates every aspect of our school day.
Really well done. It was amazing, the amount of detail. My office had a safety and management thing, and I thought, really? Compared to how we do it? It was embarrassing. This is wonderful.
Thank you, Doc. And thank you, Doc.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to open up both public hearings, or how do we
Yeah, I think do it all at once, right?
make sense? So I'll make a motion to open both of the public hearings.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one speaking?
No
one's
comments?
speaking, No
I'll
comments.
make a motion to close the public hearing.
So-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to just a couple of announcements. I think all of us were at the Juneteenth parade on Saturday. Gorgeous, wonderful celebratory day. Just a really great time to celebrate culture and unity and oneness. So, great day. I did attend the Puerto Rican Cultural Committee presentation, the Puerto Rican flag raising in White Plains. There were dancing, musical artists and food, just a really nice time to celebrate culture. Our own Maggie Rasifiopo was one of the honorees, so I was happy to have gone and celebrated with her, as well as just enjoy a really festive time. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll just add that also on Saturday was the March for Our Lives parade or rally demonstration up in
Yeah.
Peekskill, where I know I was there in spirit because we were at the Juneteenth parade, but a lot of our families, students, teachers, employees were there at the rally as well. Highlands had their award ceremony today. A lot of students received a lot of recognition. It was really nice to see that, as well as a ton of concerts throughout the district. I caught MAS last week. Chorus, band, and orchestra were excellent. As well as the Westchester Putnam School Board Association. They had their annual dinner last week where we had Jim Baldwin, who's the Deputy Commissioner of New York State Education Policy. And he had a lot to say about the paths to graduation and what the plan is coming down from state ed in terms of portfolios, in terms of alternate pathways for our kids to graduate, in addition to a Regents diploma. So it was interesting to see what the state's thinking of and looking at different pilots happening in New York City and in other areas of the state. So I think it looks promising. That's it.
This Friday, the Roar will be having a tea at the school between 1 and 2:30, and Ridgeway will be having an ice cream social on Friday night, not to forget ice cream.
Right.
So I'm
And
looking
it's
forward to both of
it's
those.
at Ice Cream Social on
Is-
the Merrimack
Is it
Avenue.
going to be at ice cream? So no, it's at Ridgeway.
It's here?
I think it's at Ridgeway.
It's at Ridgeway.
Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back.
But I'm looking forward to their ice cream.
Right.
I'm not missing that.
I'll mention the Memorial Day Parade also that a number of us
Yeah, we were all there.
participated in, as well as the White Plains High School Marching Band, who always do a great job, and it adds a lot of meaning, to the day and to the weekend. And also the White Plains Youth Bureau, I Rise, My Brother's Keeper program, had a Zoom program honoring select fifth graders, so congratulations to all of them as well.
And I'll just pop in addition to the parades, had an opportunity to attend the high school spring concert. So it was really nice to get to see a live concert.
Yeah.
I think there was one in the winter, but I didn't go to that one, so I'm happy to be there. And then went to North Rockland for the varsity girls softball game. It was a tough game. It was a great game. A lot of supporters there. It was really great to see them playing, giving their all, and the attention that they got and deserved throughout the community. So that was great. And tough way to end the season. I know they had a great season. Congratulations to Coach and all the players, and wishing them who are moving on good luck, because I know some of them are moving on in the collegiate level, and I hear they're pretty good for next year too.
Yeah,
In
And I-
fact, there are a lot of graduating seniors, athletes this year, and and some are going on to their sport, and some are opting not, and just really relishing this experience. Yeah, thank you.
And I
thank
just
you.
wanted to add to tonight's recognitions, I've been attending some of the staff's graduation, retirement celebrations, and earlier this evening, I was able to attend one as well. And one of the staff members, one of the coaches, said to me, it's been really nice to have all of these celebrations and all this recognition. And I can only speak really for my own children, but for those of you who are still out there, the recognition is so deserved. So what does a teacher do when they see a parent, right? The first thing they say is, how are the kids doing? And again, I know my kids, whether it's, my high school runner who was so excited to run the Boston Marathon, my older son who was, loved Italian, who's so excited to now own his own house in Italy. And my little one, and Sue Levin just left, became a science major and is getting her master's in public health. So, and then we talk about all the kids who are getting married, right? We can only thank all of you guys out there. You've done a wonderful job with all of our children, and as Cheryl, our mathematician, said, over 1,000 years of service to our kids. And there's nothing that's, that we would celebrate more happily, and you will all be missed. And as some people were saying tonight, you'll be back, and we hope that some of you will. Congratulations.
Thank
Perfect.
you, Rose. Next, we'll have our superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. The bulk of my report I'm going to yield to Ms. Castillo, but before I do that, and while we're thanking folks, on behalf of all of us and the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association, we also have certificates for all of you. And thank you for all of your service and your leadership. Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Randy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really should take as all the times we can to thank you all for your leadership and your time commitment and the stability that you provide to the school district. So on behalf of all of our children and all of our colleagues and our community, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
What a nice surprise.
I still can do a surprise every once in a while.
Wait, did Kane know about this?
Did you know about
I
that?
did not know about it. Yeah, and I was just named secretary of the organization last week. So.
Oh, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you. They kept it from me.
And they slipped this by you.
I don't know how I'm the secretary.
You got to talk to them
You didn't
about
have to
this.
sign it.
I do also want to draw attention to the importance of Juneteenth. And yes, we did come together to celebrate, and certainly, we're all going to be thinking about how important the recognition is as we near the holiday itself. SEL and equity permeate everything having to do with our school district, and as an opportunity to show the Board of Education, or give an example to the Board of Education, Myra and Dr. Crawford have been kind enough to be here with us this evening to provide a short presentation on how they're interweaving social and emotional learning as well as our efforts to ensure equity for all children into the day-to-day decision-making, into the day-to-day instruction, so that it's not a standalone effort. It is part of the fabric of the educational experience of our kids. And so with that, I'd like to invite Ms. Castillo.
And Dr. Rick, I would encourage everyone to drive by Church Street. Have you seen the outside of Church?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
The outside of Church Street looks amazing. The really 3D mural
Yes.
really is what it is. Yeah, there's going to be slides right there. So if everybody wants to change these or whatever.
Good evening, everyone. Community Board of Education members, Dr. Ricka Cabinet, and members of the White Plains community. It's an honor to be up here to share the equity work and SEL work that has been going on, not only here at Church Street School, but also throughout our district. And I really want to acknowledge our colleagues who have also engaged in this work. We, for the first time, engaged in equity walks, which was an amazing opportunity to learn what's going on in other buildings, what are some of those reflective practices that they're engaging in that we can actually bring back to our buildings. So today's is just a little glimpse of what we have been working on at Church Street School. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Myra Castillo, the principal at Church Street School, and I'd like Dr. Crawford to introduce herself.
Kimberly Crawford, the assistant principal.
So I'll start off with the journey that we took, just an overview. So we had the District Equity Committee that created some of these recommendations, which we shared at our faculty meeting at the beginning of the school year. We then used these recommendations, and we needed a lens. So we used the NYSED Culturally Responsive Sustaining Education Framework lens, which is 4 areas of focus, and I'll tell you a little bit about what those areas are, and this is what's going to guide our presentation this evening. And so we use these lenses to really reflect and collect data, identify our areas of practice that we needed to develop. And so we talked about developing responsive practices. So Dr. Zaretta Hammond talks about responsive practices versus best practices. Best practices are static. Responsive practices really think about the needs of our students. And then concurrently, we combined our SEL and Equity Committee, and we really engaged in a study of culturally responsive teaching and the brain by Dr. Zaretta Hammond, just to engage on the reflection of what is really going on in our building and what does culturally responsive teaching really mean. And then using that, we reflected, and we have a few next steps for the upcoming school year. So educational equity means each student has what they need to define and experience their own success, experience joy in learning every day, and see themselves reflected in the content of their learning, as well as the educators who serve them. It provides a climate in school that attends to race, ethnicity, language, culture, gender identity, and expression, sexual orientation, religion, disability, and socioeconomic status. So that's the definition that we kind of guided our work. So this is the framework, and the 4 areas are welcoming and affirming environment, high expectations and rigorous instruction, inclusive curriculum and assessment, ongoing professional learning and support. So these are the 4 areas of the culturally responsive sustaining framework that we need to really focus on to make sure that we're reflecting on what it means to have an equitable environment and access for our students. So the first one that we're going to kind of give you an example of how we engage in this, it's welcoming and affirming environment. So the guiding question is, how can we provide access to social emotional support for all students? So before the pandemic, we really spoke about the students who had those mandated counseling, right, supports, but what were we doing for all students in the building? So we came up with our Color Monsters Take Over Church Street School. So this was a way where we took a read aloud, which engaged students in learning how to define what they were feeling, what experiences were they engaging in, and how can they define moments where they might be feeling in those ways. So as a school, they learned the language, they learned about the zones, and they were able to have now a shared way of explaining how they were feeling in the moment, and it's a shared vocabulary across the district, across the building. And so we made Padlets, and students gave examples about moments they were in those zones. And then out of that came our coping ambassadors. So all of this work was, we engaged in morning announcements. Each morning, yes, 180 morning announcements, and we're still doing it every morning. We go over our color monsters. How are you feeling this morning? What zone are you in and why? And out of this came out our coping ambassadors with our school psychologist, Ms. Luca. She worked with a 3rd grade group, and they developed videos on coping strategies. These coping strategies were then shared with the rest of the school community. And so this is just an example. If I click, will it play?
Just like we need food to get energy, our brains need air and oxygen to breathe. Sometimes when we are nervous, scared, or mad, our brains forget to breathe. We need help. We need to help our brains in those moments. Remember the coping tools? We talked about it last time. We will be sharing the first one with you today. It is called a mindful breathing. It means paying attention to our breathing. We can use breathing square to help. You outline the breathing square with your finger while you breathe in and out. This is the breathing square. Let me show you how I use it. But if I also lose my breathing square, I can use my hand too. Let's practice. Do this 5 times to give your brain the air that it needs.
So that's an example of one of the coping strategies, and if you ask kids what the breathing square is, they can tell you exactly what it is and that they utilize it. And we also connected with our parents in the newsletter. We spoke about the color monsters with parents and the coping strategies that they can utilize at home as well. And that's Miss Luca. She pushing into classrooms, talking about the color monsters and engaging in some of these coping strategies with students. And we just got awarded a promising practice for our work with the color monsters and our coping ambassadors. So we're extremely proud of all the work that our entire school community engaged in to make this possible. It is a collective efficacy. It can't just be done with a small group. All the teachers engaged in it, parents, students. So now we have a shared language across the building. And the next one is inclusive curriculum and assessment. And so we wanted to make sure we were providing windows and mirrors for our students. And so we are really intentional about the text that we are selecting, and our students see themselves reflected in it. So this is an example of Dress as Your Favorite Character Day, and she's dressed as Sophia Martinez. So this is a huge shift in students seeing themselves in the characters that they're reading about. And recently we read El Deafo, and one of the kids said, "This book is about me." And so it's just amazing to see how students see themselves in the books that they are reading and engaging in. And this is a huge undertaking that we took this school year. The big question was, what school-wide practices support equity of access to targeted instruction in the area of foundational reading skills for every student? So coming back from the pandemic, we knew that the foundational skills, we really needed to work on them. And we have the foundations, we have a resource, but how are we really utilizing it? And this is a quote that we shared with everyone. To change student outcomes, we must first change adult practices. And so collective efficacy is huge here. Not only are we engaging in the work with our classroom teachers, but also making sure that the interventionists, that parents, anyone who's working with the student are all aligned with their practices, so students are getting reinforced with what they need. And it's a little hard to see up there, but this is what we call the Foundations Test Protocol. So before we would move on from lesson to lesson to lesson, possibly leaving behind some of our students who needed the extra support. So now, after each assessment, if 80% of the students do not pass, there's what is called a reteach. So teachers reteach for 2 to 5 days, retest, and students that are still falling behind continue with that support in small group tier 2 interventions in the classroom and also in reading groups. So this is a protocol that we've really seen impact our students, but also the practice that our teachers are engaging in to ensure that those foundational skills are solid. And so we spoke about the multi-tiered systems of supports. Not only is it happening in reading, right? So it's not the reading teacher is in charge of making sure that the students move forward. They're actually aligning that instruction with the classroom teachers. So they have an opportunity to articulate what is happening in reading group, and they're also doing that in small group in tier 2 interventions in the classrooms so that they get that actual alignment of support. And this is a teacher talking about her experience.
This year, I've really focused my practice on the data and needs in my classroom. Rather than just pushing students forward, I've really taken the time to ensure that mastery is reached, specifically of those essential skills. This has helped me to have a better control of the learning gaps in my classroom. Before those gaps become larger and overwhelming, it just gives me a better handle on managing them. To do that, I've utilized the reteaching lesson planning tools from Foundations, and I specifically used my small group time to manage the various levels that I have in my classroom, specifically targeting that work from the different Foundations units where students may be stuck. I've also made sure to take the time to speak to interventionists to ensure that our instruction is aligned and targeted to specific student needs.
Good evening, I'm Kimberly, and I'm much taller than Myra. Thank you so much. Our next slide just represents, we just saw a teacher who's in our school, and then we're going to just funnel into how are we providing opportunities for student voice and civic engagement. So one of the things that we are very proud of is just an opportunity to have students and teachers, we have one here, and parents share in the community. So we want to recognize that our students are agents of change. This visual represents different activities that took place and are still taking place during the year. You'll notice at the top, there's a project that we worked on with Whole Foods where students gave back and they're becoming their own agents of change. The picture below is students did create projects and they made blankets for local community shelters and also for pets. It's a little distant, but the picture on the top right is we had a school-wide initiative for our mathematics week, and students collected toothbrushes that we're donating to local community shelters. And then there's a food bank on the bottom and other community garden pictures on the left, as well as Read Aloud Day. This gives students an opportunity to come in and share their ideas as well as create projects. And all of these projects, the students either came up with the ideas, but they worked on them by themselves, and then we just guided them with the support of our teachers. That led us into one of the most exciting things, well, for me this year is our student council, and that was after this we found the need that we were going to go even deeper. When we think about the equity needs and the SEL needs and how we've merged them together in our school, we were so fortunate this year to create a student council. And our student council is a group of student leaders who came together, and it's really off and running in an amazing way. And from this, we have a student council committee that's led by Ms. Castillo, and I'm there as well, but teachers and the students came, and we had so many, you'll see in a few slides, students who were involved and engaged. They helped organize community service activities, as I showed you previously. They represent our student voice, which is essential, and it's an ongoing thing in the community. It even spills over to the bus rides home. They represent us, and they give their own ideas, and they're becoming student leaders and role models, and we get to see this every day. So our student council roles. This is a recent picture from our kindergarten roundup, but this is a group of our students. Okay, so you'll see that we had 62 applicants that applied to be on student council. They had to fill out an application. They had to have a teacher recommendation. Then we met in our conference room. We went through they had to give an idea of what they wanted to contribute to student council. So we really give them several opportunities for student voice. Everyone has a role. At this time, it's up and running, and the student council committee members are really taking pride and ownership in this as they steer the school. And we're going to go in for even further. So the goals that the students came up with when we met collectively, we met in the auditorium, they came up with ideas on how they can shape and contribute to school. One of the things that we want to go back to is just how we really gave them an opportunity to become agents of change and be very responsible in the processes of making their voice heard as well as their ideas heard, and we really are able to implement them. And then this is another opportunity. You'll see peer buddies, and they mentor other students.
They work with our school psychologist in third grade to make sure that on the playground they learn ways to be inclusive. And so this is a video they created to share with our student body on ways that they can be inclusive on the playground with others. Especially this is something we showed during Autism Awareness.
Hi everyone, I want to talk to you about being inclusive during Autism Awareness Month. Being inclusive means you include and are kind to everyone, even people who might be different than you are. We can be inclusive to all students at Church Street by inviting someone to play when we see they are alone at recess. Helping someone when they are having a hard time. You can say something like, "Would you like some help?" Be flexible. Play a game a different way or compromise on playing a game your friend likes. Take turns. Tell your friends about being inclusive and share what you know about others with autism and how you can be a kind friend to all. You should be inclusive every month, not just April. Together we can make sure that Church Street is a place where we are all accepted, respected, and included.
So those are just a few examples of how we're not only giving students voice as to what they want to see changed in our school community, but also giving them agency to share with others how they can be community change agents. And so ongoing professional learning and support. This year, our dual language program, we had the honor of having Dr. Jose Medina work with our teachers. And the question is, how are we using multiple expressions of diversity to recognize as assets of teaching and learning? And so they went over the 3 pillars of dual language, which is bilingualism and biliteracy, grade level achievement in both languages, sociocultural or cultural competence. So our teachers made sure that students knew why they were in the dual language program, right? Why are they learning 2 languages? And so they actually created posters as to why it benefits them to be bilingual. And the other piece of this too is that teachers then made sure that they use the 4+1 domains, which is listening, reading, speaking, writing, and then meta-linguistic, which means bridging both languages and leveraging one language with the other, making sure that they understand that one language is not superior over the other. And it was amazing to see how students took agency, they represented themselves, they spoke about where they were from, and how being bilingual is important and what it means to them. So this was really important, the work that was done this year, and this is the first time we actually see students understanding why they are learning 2 languages. And so this is, the parent support is huge with and access. How are we providing access for resources for parents and opportunities for input and voice?
We are conducting parent workshops, as Myra said. With dual language, we have several opportunities for parents to not necessarily come in physically, but to join in our activities, whether they're outside or via Zoom. We also have the Science of Reading supporting students at home. Our E&L department works with technology, language development, and preventing the summer slide. That's one thing that we're working on even now as we prepare for summer, just giving students the tools they need to take home so that they can be equipped to come back stronger than ever. We're also working with partnering with community organizations as well.
Yeah, so part of this is also listening to parents and what their needs are. And so a lot of them needed additional support with homework. So we partnered with JCY and they provided additional tutoring supports during the week. Kalami, we also had weekly drop-offs where a parent came and dropped off provisions for families. And then we also have a grant that we received from Adopt the Classroom where we have supplies for any parents who are new to the class, to Church Street School that need the additional supplies. They don't have to worry about it because we have those supplies available for them. And then for next year, what we're doing is we're developing a series of parent workshops with parent input forums and parent reps. And we're focusing in the areas of literacy, math, E&L, health, and wellness. So we'll have a PD calendar of workshops for parents.
And as was mentioned in the beginning, the base of our work was based on this book, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain. So we had a book study that included teachers, and we went through the entire book. We focused on this. This is a book that we got from our district, so thank you. We focused on just meeting, collectively going through chapter by chapter. Each of us took a chapter. We were able to highlight points and really extract what was meaningful. One of the things that came out in one of the meetings is it gave us an opportunity to be reflective on our own practices so that we can really show an empathetic view of how it feels. So sometimes when we're teaching, we're going, but this book study allowed us a moment to just sit down and we would meet after school and go through the experiences together.
One of the important things that came out of this, and you'll see with all of this equity work, is that the core and the foundation is relationship building. You cannot do anything without building those strong relationships with students, with families. And so this is one of the important things that came out of the culturally responsive teaching, is how are we being in a relationship and having a social emotional connection to students. And that's what we kind of embedded in our next steps. We are going to lead the work with SEL and equity, with our equity team, developing at faculty meetings to guide our staff in the reflection on culturally responsive teaching and our practices. What are we currently developing? What are we currently engaging in at Church Street School? And also, what are our next steps? How are we being reflective practitioners and actually responsive to the needs of students? And so we have to look at our equity practices, our biases, and our values, and how it affects our school classrooms and the way students feel represented and addressed. We have to help teachers illuminate the unconscious patterns, as Zaretta Hammond states. And we're also, this year we engaged in the School Culture and Climate Initiative. And the big piece of this survey is to see how we align with what teachers think, but also the perspective of students. And it's been really interesting. We currently just did a review of our data to see the alignment between what teachers think students, what they're providing students, and what students are actually feeling. And we haven't shared this with our staff, but the alignment is really close, which means that we're walking, right, the talk. And so right now what we're going to do is meet with the School Culture and Climate representatives who are going to help guide our next steps. We're going to share the data with our faculty and staff and then guide our next steps to see what the data is telling us and how we can improve this very, like we say at the core, the relationships we have with students. And so this is what we've engaged in so far at Church Street School, and like I said, across the district, really acknowledging all of our colleagues across White Plains who are also doing this work. And as Dr. Ricca said, it is in the fabric of what we do. It's not anything new. We've been doing this, and now we're just making sure that we're highlighting and we're improving and really being reflective on those responsive practices. So thank you for this opportunity tonight to let us share what we're doing at Church Street School.
Thank you for the presentation. I do have one question. On your student council, do you have any children who are not neurotypical? When we're teaching students to be aware of other students and be kind to students during autism awareness, and in terms of equity, I would wonder if on the student council there were any recommendations by staff, because there were recommendations for non-neurotypical students to be part of that council.
Right, so the way it works is that students in 4th and 5th grade had an opportunity to express their interest in being part of the student council. So that includes anyone, right?
But these students might not automatically do that, because they are not necessarily neurotypical. So I was wondering, were there some way to potentially, from a staff point of view, encourage such a student to be part of that group? I think it could encourage the entire student council to understand that students and classmates who might not be neurotypical might be able to offer quite a bit.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with making sure that we're including students who are non-neurotypical. That's our Buddies program, and I think having those students on student council and bringing in the buddies that they have, that they work in those discussions.
I'd like to see them on the council, not as the buddies. By definition, there's a difference there. It's just a different level. I'm on the council, you're my buddy, I'm kind to you. I want them on an equal level.
We understand what you're saying.
Okay.
We have that population, of course, and we want to include everyone. We do have a student who is going to visit other classes, so once they get in that grade, as Myra mentioned, this year was only 4th and 5th because we're starting out, but the student I'm thinking of will be moving up, so there will be opportunities in the future to include other students.
So
Thank
that's
you.
what I was trying to explain. So right now, it's 4th and 5th grade, our 1-2 class is only 3rd grade, and so knowing that they have these buddies that they're creating a relationship, right, bringing them into the student council can be an
Good,
opportunity.
I would love to see that.
And we also have other students who are also in our consultant teacher program, and those students are also participating in our student council.
They're also
Yeah, Can I add too? I want to say thank you because I know there's a lot of misconceptions, rumors, myths that surround the culturally sustaining framework, equity, inclusion, diversity. And sometimes people associate certain things with those terms for whatever reasons. But you proved tonight that it's about curriculum. It's about looking at, like the best example was that teacher looking at that 80% and then reteaching it, right? So it's about looking at your curriculum and how it plays into that. And I really appreciated the breathing exercises the kids were sharing with each other. I mean, there were so many aspects to it, professional development for teachers with the book. So I just think, seeing it in action as a teacher and I think as board members is super helpful when we have conversations with people across the district about what we're doing with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and particularly the culturally sustaining framework from state ed. And it is an important document. I think what I saw tonight is just, I was really impressed. It's great. So thank you.
And you can lower blood pressure very nicely with that breathing exercise. I do it in my office all
We
the
would
time
need a
with
giant
patients.
square.
Yeah, but it's really true because, you think of apps and everything, there's like mindful breathing, and at first I'm like, I don't need this, but when it popped up, I said, wait a minute, let me take this. So it's not a notion, it works, so.
And I loved using the hand if you didn't have the cards. It was wonderful.
Yes, because I found myself breathing.
I wanted to comment for a minute on something you touched on, the dual language piece, where you had the students do diagrams to show why they are studying dual language. I thought that was a great practice. A lot of kids are there because their parents want them there, but they don't really understand it. And I know that my kids were we didn't have dual language when my kids were in the elementary grades, but they all took language. And I'll never forget the day that my son said to me, Mom, I think I finally understand what you always told me. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I think I'm finally fluent because I'm thinking in Italian and I'm just speaking and not having to stop and translate. And that's what I always told them. For years, I'm very fortunate to have family in different countries. And so my kids would listen to me on the phone with my family where we'd be in and out, like in one sentence, we'd be speaking 3 different languages and 2 different dialects, and we'd just be hopping in and out, and they didn't get it. And they thought this was the hardest thing in the world. I said, no, the more proficient you become, the more you're thinking in that language, and it just comes naturally. And I think that's a huge piece, that and combining with the culture part of it. And I just, again, it really helps the kids understand why are we doing this.
I just would say thank you for sharing your hard work and success that you've had this year. I think it's very impressive to see that, and cultural responsive teaching is 3 initials. That is not what other people may think it is. So it's teaching that's culturally responsive at the same time. But again, I think it's very important work, and I think you talked about those four pillars that are important to our students. And again, thank you for taking the time and sharing this work with us, and taking up a Monday evening. I know these are long days, and thank you so much.
Having been on the equity committee, just to be able to see sort of the living, breathing work that comes out of it, and the intentionality. Yes, it's something that you've been doing for a long time, but now it's intentional and reflective and really embedded in the life of your school. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll sum it up and just say thank you. It's not easy work. It's not a notion. So we thank you for presenting tonight very much. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. And as Myra and Kimberly noted, this is work that's replicable, that's taking place all throughout the district. Looks different in different buildings, dependent upon what their particular culture and climate in their buildings it needs at the time. But it's very exciting to see, as you mentioned, Cheryl, to see this in action. and in making a difference in the lives of our kids. So again, thank you very much, Myra. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Really appreciate it. And before I relinquish Superintendent's report, I have one last announcement that's very important. Each year, I have the opportunity to present awards at the New York Power Authority, through the New York Power Authority and through the White Plains Youth Bureau and the city. And it's the STEAM Awards, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This year, we're back in person. It's tomorrow night. And I do get to participate again, but in a special fashion, and look, she won't even look at me because she knows what's happening. In a special fashion, I get to present an award this year to Dr. Hand. And I'm especially proud to do that because Dr. Hand has been a champion of integrating science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into, again, the fabric of everything that our kids do. And Deb, you've done a tremendous job, so tomorrow night I'll be sure to lay it on real thick. No, just kidding, but congratulations.
Yeah.
Can anyone come? Or they don't have a Zoom?
I don't. There's no Zoom, but I think anyone can. Well, certainly you said it. You all can go wherever you want.
Okay, congratulations on that. That's awesome. Awesome.
I did send the presentation, the Church Street presentation,
Yes,
to all of you.
I was going to ask you to do that. Yes, thank you.
And you too, Michelle. And we can let you know about tomorrow night. But I think you probably have other things on the calendar too. And that's my report.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we go on now, don't feel like y'all have to stay because it's been a long day. If you want to, but wait, we didn't say everybody. Wait, what? Okay, so yeah, so we go ahead. Don't worry. It's been a long day. No.
We understand.
Yes. We just taking notes and names. Don't worry. No.
You're only getting out 5 minutes early, so don't worry about it.
So next we'll move to our summary action items. We have summary action. Ooh. Is there any public participation?
Hearing none.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing, but I see a lot of things. Okay. Okay, looks like there's no public participation tonight. So we'll just move to summary action items. We have summary action items 4 through 8. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to draw your attention to item B, 4B, and we are grateful for the following donations. Prom dresses from BCI Brands and Star Fabrics, and these were gorgeous dresses. Clothing from Peerless Clothing, Cole Haan, PVC shirts and ties. I mean, amazing outfits for our students, and thank you very much to those donors. $2,225 from the Friends of the White Plains Public Schools for shirts for the Ridgeway Chorus. $250 from the Montague Gurette. $150 from Okemo Valley Regional CC for the Christian Gianola Science Scholarship. $1,600 from Kevin Brown, $200 from Linda Woodward, $25 from John Finaro for the Brown Family Memorial Scholarship, $4,125 from various donors for the Dorothy Ann Peters Memorial Scholarship, $500 from Mr. and Mrs. Jack Massaro for the Rose Massaro Scholarship Fund, $1,000 from the Usa Chinese School for Asian Heritage Scholarship. I always struggle with that, don't I, Mrs. Schoenfeld? $500 from Jacob Gellis for the Mary June Bayek Love of Nursing Scholarship, $7,000 from the White Plains High School Alumni Association for the Alumni Scholarship, $1,000 from Victoria Hockman Shelby for the Richard Leibson Journalism Scholarship, $639 from Bonnie Vendola for the Audrey Rogers Scholarship, $250 from Jeff Zucker for the Morton Zucker Memorial Scholarship, and $39 from Yolanda Evangelista Wynn for the Pasquale Evangelista Scholarship. Thank you all for your generous donations.
Yes. Thank you. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Next, we'll move on to individual action items. The first one is our tax warrant, and may I have a motion?
So, second.
No?
We'll need a voice vote for
Yeah, we roll call.
individual.
Okay. So all in favor?
Madam Clerk, call the
Individually.
roll.
Well,
Okay.
we have a motion and a second?
Yes,
We have a
Yes.
second?
yes,
I'm the second.
Okay. Mrs. Eller?
yes.
Mrs. Lovich?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Brady?
Yes?
Dr. Stein?
Yes.
Mr. Letizia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Next, we're at our code of conduct. May I have a motion to accept our code of conduct?
So moved.
Second?
Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Next, we have a motion for the district safety plan and emergency management plan and school building level response plans. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a motion for the Board to accept and approve the memorandum of agreement among the District of White Plains Teachers Association and employee dated May 23rd, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a motion to extend the probationary period of a teacher for an additional year until 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have policy number 4810. This would be the first reading on controversial topics. It's definitely interested, I think, and needed. I did go through it. I don't have any questions for this first reading. But as this is a first reading, we can accept it at our next meeting.
This
we?
is,
Is this the first?
this is not a first.
It says first reading.
Yeah,
It is the first reading.
The policy committee went through it, and this is the first
Can
reading
you
for the
walk,
board.
But
you
we're
walked
taking action
into the
on it?
policy
We
meeting
should've.
while we were
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
Right, so
So
So-
this
this
would
is
be.
becoming policy.
This
No, so
This
the
is
first time it was
separate,
on the agenda, it was when we were bringing it for the committee.
Okay.
The committee has reviewed it. I'm glad you asked. The committee has reviewed it, made all of the
Right.
revisions, and now it's on for first
Reading.
reading. So you have the
And
opportunity
then
now
there'll be
to.
one more
Yes.
time.
Yes, and it'll be
Right.
on again in July.
Maybe
for
it shouldn't be
adoption.
under action. We don't have to take action.
Correct. Oh, yes,
Right,
yes,
we don't-
yes.
So it shouldn't be under
Yes,
action.
yes.
Right, right.
No.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay,
Yeah, that could have been discussion.
yeah, yeah. So next we have our committee reports. Anybody want to report out?
I'll report out on special education. We met with Deb Ogarten and Becky Eidelman-Nixon, who is an administrative intern working with Debbie. I mean, she's also a teacher in the district. And so it all relates to the code of conduct. So we've seen the revisions that took place, but in addition, the code of conduct is sort of this living document, working draft, and so really examining the restorative shifts and analyzing and outlining the processes and the practices and the professional development that are needed to make that code of conduct really work for everyone. So it's intentional, it's systemic, it's consistent. Equity considerations are, really looked at very intentionally, and then there's follow through. So that was one thing we talked about. Also, planning for a parent university next year, thanks to the Friends of the White Plains Schools, a grant from them, and we'll be working with Andrus to have a parent university and emphasizing positive parenting. And we also discussed that there is going to be a consultant providing professional development on multi-tiered systems of support, both in academics and SEL.
Any other reports?
Sure, curriculum also met. We had a good discussion with the high school
Yep.
about the proposed schedule, which they're reviewing currently. We also had Kathy Paropoulos present to us regarding the math specialists at each of our elementary schools, our enrichment, and Project Lead the Way. And I think it's just awesome that we're going to have, in addition to reading specialists and coaches, math specialists and coaches at the elementary schools. And they will be working at those schools, at one building, hopefully, throughout the year.
Yeah, having really a
Thank you.
dedicated person in each building and more flexibility because of the added math specialists so that we can provide more opportunities for enrichment, both small group and whole, classrooms. So really opportunities for all our kids, which is great.
And also, we did meet for HR, but those are confidential matters, so we'll just close that out, and there's nothing else to report out on. Next, we'll go to the Wellness Committee meeting, and this year I have been participating on the Wellness Committee meetings. I will say that my subcommittee was very interesting in terms of having a student there who was also an athlete, who was also a swimmer, and really just talking about ways that we can make our pantries more appealing, right, and not have a stigma, and package it in such a way that an athlete, after a practice, can grab something to go and eat and just go home and not be ravenous, because we're all parents of athletes of one or the other. When you finish, you want to eat. And so, just really talking about ways and just getting feedback from the student. And I don't know, I hope, Ann, on our report out to you, I did want to acknowledge the committee and the great work, but I'm hoping that we really do something for the students, because they got really granular. I think Jackson was online. Even the trays, he said the trays look like institutional, like they really think about these things, and how can you make food appealing? We eat with our eyes first. So, our pantries are such a blessing. I hope that we can really use it for the greater good. And even if, you don't have to be food insecure to take advantage of an opportunity that will support your studying. You can go home and be satisfied and be able to sit down and not be up till whenever.
And I think I saw on the agenda as well the food for next year, 22-23, and I know we still have 2 weeks left to appeal to Congress to plead with them to fund us for next year, school year, though it doesn't look very good, but I know it was discussed as well.
But at least we were going to plan on having free breakfast for everyone, no matter what.
That's a given.
Right.
Yeah, and we can do that, yeah, we can do that. But it's really great to just really destigmatize anything, so even a different name, because I can tell you, if I worked here and that pantry was available and I'm on my way home, I think I would pick up something to eat if I was hungry. So I think that was wonderful.
I definitely would have.
So that's all I have to say about the Wellness Committee. I know we kind of closed out for this year, and I look forward to next school year.
When's the first meeting, Ann? Like August what? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We're working on our...
I know we have our first budget meeting in July.
Yeah.
I'm sure we do.
Yeah. Next, our Finance Committee meeting.
There wasn't anything that much new, did we? We did talk about the lunch program. We talked about how we actually were doing very well, ahead of budget on our revenue from last year. And it's just, our director now, the food service program is amazing, and she's done an incredible job, along with Ann, in getting our, funds. But we really, as Kane said, would really hope that we could manage to get the lunch funds. That made a huge difference.
The voter voice that the Westchester Putnam School Boards is running is out of all the voter voices we've done, it's the most letters have been sent on that, topic. So,
Could I just ask for some information about the solar proposal? I saw in the notes. Could someone?
We'll send it to you. Yeah, for sure.
It was in the board doc, so we're just reviewing right now.
It's just information.
It was informational. It was
That's
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did give us a lot of information.
These are not on the roofs. These are on like reports.
They could be.
All over.
Roofs
Carports.
Carport.
We'll send there's a mock-up of what it could
Right, they had the
potentially look like.
different buildings and what
It's
they
in the-
were recommending.
It was in the resolution.
It was very interesting, but
Yeah.
we didn't have any, they didn't go into a lot of granular detail on it.
Okay.
I think part of it is
was
being
worth
ready.
presenting it.
And
Once
canopies over
those funds
playgrounds,
become
too.
available
Yeah.
What it
again.
would-
Yeah, no, it was
Those
a lot of
rebates.
very nice
Yeah.
looking stuff,
Right.
but it wasn't really granular
Right,
yet.
right.
So legal counsel is reviewing the letter of intent and the lease agreement, and we're doing reference checks, and then we'll come back.
And what's involved with letter of intent
No, it's
and
exciting because we have the student
how
come
much
to
we're on the
last
hook
board
for
meeting,
that.
remember?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is,
Right,
just a
right.
couple of questions really, just before it becomes something real. But, look, that's going to
It
be the
would be
way of
great.
the future, not just for schools, I mean, for everywhere. It's
I
gonna
think
be the
I'd like
way.
to see us negotiate a bit more.
Yeah.
We're working on the front-end negotiation.
Yeah.
piece. Yeah.
I think, it was a very nice proposal and it was very glitzy and beautiful. But for my purposes, it didn't go down to the nitty-gritty quite as much as I like.
A little more steak and a little less sizzle.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, everyone. I think we have exhausted our board discussion, and if there's nothing else from anyone, I would...
I just wanted to add one thing, the rec committee. There is a meeting on the 15th, which I guess is Wednesday night. There'll be a presentation of the One White Plains Comprehensive Plan, just as we did our strategic plan for the
Rose,
future White Plains.
Where is that? Is that
That's going to be at the New York Power Authority at 123 Main Street. And I'm trying to figure out a time, 7 to 9 p.m.
What's the date?
I'm sorry, Wednesday night, the
I
15th.
think I'm going to be there. Yeah. The day for the day for the Hawks and that, yeah. Yeah, so I'll be there. Okay, all right.
check it out.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, for real.
Madam Chair, would you entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, may I have a motion to adjourn to exec session?
Oh, or executive.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.